Thanks for joining us here at Quartz Mediumship podcast, where we simply adore anything and everything healing and metaphysically based. As we approach the summer solstice, there's a story that I want to share with you. And this podcast is going to feel a little bit different, and that's okay. I'm in the process of a shift, and you're going to feel that inside of the work and the content that you see coming out of me. I think that this story really gets to the essence of what summer solstice can do for us. And that's why I want to tell this story right now. I have been taking a course with a content creator. And if we know each other, you probably realize that something that I find really valuable is asking questions that lead to introspection and simultaneously offering a different way of viewing the world. It's what I do inside of my coaching business, and it's what I do during somatic sessions with clients and healing sessions with clients. And so it's not surprising that that is the kind of program or course that I end up drawn to. There's something really magical for me about being asked questions that lead me really deeply into myself. And in this program that I'm taking, the content producer asked various different questions as ways to promote and facilitate self-reflection and introspection. And one of the questions was about fear of failing. And the question landed in a clunky place for me, where I spent a lot of time thinking about it, but I couldn't really be with the question. Not because the question itself was triggering for me, but because it wasn't quite right. The question didn't get to my problem, which is a little bit funny because the question absolutely got to my problem. So it's easy for me to sit here and say that the question didn't get to my problem, but it did. I never really did answer that question because it's not what came up for me. You see, I'm not really afraid of failing in business or in life. And the question was pertaining to business, which is life. And so the question is pertaining to everything. I'm not afraid of failing. I spent a lot of time really self-reflecting about it. I did some somatic sessions on myself, and what I realized was that I'm actually afraid of succeeding. And one can argue that I'm already successful, and I would agree with that. I think all of us are successful. And so really it's about the next level of success in business and in life for me, the next expression of who I am, and the resistance that I feel with stepping into that expression of me. The byproduct is going to be expansion in business or expansion in life in various different ways. And I spent some time really thinking about the fear of failure, and it was really fear of succeeding. And what it is that I'm afraid of is being seen on a bigger scale. I know I'm really good at what I do. Can I be better? Absolutely. Will I get better? Absolutely. But simultaneously, I know that I'm really good at what I do and that I help a lot of clients by offering them a different way of seeing themselves, seeing the world, seeing a dynamic or a situation. And I'm really good at asking them questions that lead them into themselves. And I have a deep understanding of the nervous system and how to work with it rather than against it. And how to blend working with a concept in mind with the resistance or the openness in the nervous system and in the body. So the fear of stepping into the next expression of me, the next version of whoever it is that I am, when I am more deeply aligned, when I'm standing more solidly in my authenticity and my uniqueness, is that like everyone else, I have had experiences in this human experience where the authentic version of me was rejected or not accepted. That judgment was passed on who I am, the way that I move through the world, the unique way that I move through the world. And one aspect of that is my mediumship. And I can easily see that for someone else, my mediumship might challenge the story or the schema that they live in and create their life in. And it's not about me, right? It's just not. If they believe that they live and die and there's nothing after the human experience, then my mediumship would challenge that, and they might not be ready for that. Or maybe they've had a negative experience with mediumship themselves, and so there's resistance there. Or maybe it doesn't align with their truth in various different other ways and forms. But you see, it's not about me. And oftentimes, those people who are challenged by my mediumship because it challenges their truth. And I'm a huge believer that we can all have different truths, right? I don't need someone else's truth to be mine in order for my truth to be mine. But what's hard is when someone needs my truth to be theirs, and one expression of that is passing judgment or negative comments about my truth. And the real problem there is that I've had those experiences since the time I was a small child, where my mediumship was challenged in various different ways. The truth that I was experiencing and living, my connection with spirit, the universe, God, nature, divine, however it is that you say that, for me, they're the same thing. And not all these experiences were coming from a malicious place, you know? My first real vivid memory of being invalidated around mediumship was my mom, who loves me so much. She really loves me, and she really supports me, and she does not give a fuck who I am. She just wants me to be happy with who I am. And so her invalidating my mediumship was never about wanting to change me or harm me or invalidate me. She just didn't have that lived experience. She'd never had the ability to visualize a spirit. And so when I spoke about it, it wasn't the life that she'd lived. And so her invalidation was never about harming me. It was never about challenging the truth of my experience or who I am. She would never do that, knowingly. But she hadn't lived a life of mediumship. And so when I spoke to her about the mediumship experiences that I was having as a very small child, she told me that I was dreaming. And if you want to hear the whole story of how I understood that I was a medium, my first real vivid memories, I want to invite you to listen to the first podcast in my podcast series. But in that, I'll give you the cliff notes. I had an experience on Christmas Eve where I saw a photo of the girl who had been seeing at the end of my bed. My mom had told me that I was dreaming. And then I saw the little girl in a photo on my great-grandmother's piano. And I pointed her out to my mom and I said that that was the little girl who stands at the end of my bed. And it was a busy family function with people everywhere. And my mom said to me, "Shh, honey, that's your dad's cousin. And she's not alive. And we'll talk about this in the car later." And I ran off with my cousin to play. And you see, in that moment, she never intended to hurt me or invalidate me. She just didn't know the experience that I was having. It wasn't her lived experience. And we do this to each other as humans, not from a place of being malicious, but sometimes we just don't know. And so those were the beginnings of my experiences of other people challenging what was true for me. You can insert whatever word it is that you identify deeply with. And for me, it was my mediumship, right? But there's an authentic expression of each of us that has been rejected or invalidated, whether it's art or our intelligence or whatever, right? How we understand math. Regardless, we've all had the experience. And my fear of success is really about not knowing if I could handle more people challenging my truth, my lived experience. And you see, that's a me issue. Because no one else can validate or invalidate. It's really about me. And if somebody else doesn't agree with the way that I move through the world and the way that I see the world and the way that I engage with the world, they don't have to. This is my life. But their judgment or their invalidation or their lack of understanding can feel like a challenge to my authenticity because mediumship is such a core part of who I am. And that relationship that I have with spirit, the universe, God, nature, the divine, however you say it. Again, for me, they're the same thing. I hadn't stretched my nervous system enough into safety to realize that I actually can tolerate more judgment, more lack of understanding, more challenging. I was, and have been, at my own glass ceiling around that. And the question in this program was about fear of failure. But what it brought up for me was fear of success, which could potentially lead to more rejection or challenging of my truth. And so it's an opportunity for me to really sit with how much I allow other people's opinions of the way that I move through the world and my truths to determine who I'm going to be. And this is the thing. I don't even know that I'm going to get more judgment. That's a perception. That's a story that I created in my mind based off of experiences that I've had. And I can just as easily point out many, many more examples of where I've owned my mediumship and my uniqueness and my authenticity, and I've been celebrated for it. And people have said, yeah, me too. Or, that's so neat. Tell me more. Explain to me the way that you see the world, because I want to understand you. I have far more experiences like that than people rejecting me. But I make the choice to focus on the people who reject me. And that's just simply an expression of me rejecting myself. And so it was a really beautiful opportunity for me to look at my role in this. Because I don't even know. When I step into the next version of me, I don't know that there's going to be more people who challenge or reject who I am and my truths. That's a perception. That's a story I created in my own mind that keeps me from stepping into the next expression or version of me. So I don't even know that it's going to happen, but let's play it out, right? This is what I said to myself. Let's play it out. What if they do? What if they reject you? What if they mock you? What if they don't share the same truth? What if they say mean things? Okay. Okay. Do you actually think that you can't tolerate that? Did you crumble or die before? No, of course not. So the reality is that I actually can tolerate more rejection, more misunderstanding, more judgment, more conflict. But that's not even a guarantee that that's going to be my lived experience. It's just my fear speaking. It's just my nervous system trying to keep me safe, because I have had some of those lived experience. But I've had way more lived experience of people getting me, even if they don't have the same lived experience, that they get who I am, or that they accept who I am, even if they don't share the same truth. I have way more data that says that. And so it was such a beautiful opportunity for me to look at the stories that I've created in my own mind and in my own nervous system. And the part of my nervous system that doesn't want me to be rejected or judged or mocked or challenged, it's just trying to love me. It doesn't want me to hurt. But my nervous system, by trying to protect me, is actually hurting me, because I'm not standing fully in who I am, unapologetically, in my authenticity and my uniqueness. And that hurts more than what anyone else could say. It hurts more to not claim who I am than anything that anyone else could say. And so the question while I never did answer it, led me exactly where I needed to be. And there has been a snowball effect of introspection and growth that came out of that. I will forever be a lifelong learner. I will forever put myself in environments, conversations, places, at tables, at campfires, on Zoom calls, listening to podcasts that allow me to stretch into the next expression of me because I like it, because it's part of my authenticity and my uniqueness. Is that I enjoy growing and I enjoy stepping into the next expression of me. It's not always comfortable, but I love it. And I wanted to share that experience with you. In the event that there was a mirror there for you somewhere in that story. And I think that this story and this experience is a really beautiful example of the summer solstice and of what summer solstice asks us to do. And so as we approach the summer solstice, I just want to ask you, where are you dimming your light? Where are you not allowing yourself to shine in the most intense way that you're capable of shining? I really appreciate you being here with us at Rose Quartz Mediumship Podcast. And I hope that wherever it is that this podcast finds you, it finds you stretching into the most amount of light that can come out of you.